Hello and hi everyone, welcome back. For today's topic, I'm going to discuss on which 4 stars or 5-star characters are worth pulling for in your account. So in my opinion, let's start with 4 stars first. 4 stars, there are several of them that has been released, and some of the main 4 stars that you should focus on is Sanhua, Dunjin, and Mortefi. Mortefi boosts Jian's attack. Sanhua is generally good for any DPS character because she gives you attack bonus and you can build her concerto very fast. And for Dungeon, there need to be no introduction because you can see a lot of YouTube videos where people soloing TOA bosses or hologram bosses easily with just Dungeon. So these 3 characters are your main priority. Other than that, there are few characters that you can focus on if you have certain DPS. Or if you want a healer, then go for Baizi. So for example, you want Wu, Lumi will be very useful if you have Jinxi. Also Tauki if you have Jinxi, because Lumi and Tauki give resonance skill bonus. So this will be useful for characters like Jinxi where you need to use a resonance skill to deal damage. And for Yuan Wu, he is good for Jinxi also because he have coordinated attacks, which is easier to build your Jinxis for Teba. Jixia you can get them for free, and Yang Yang you can get them for free too. Yang Yang do have some users in TOA in grouping, and Shixia I've seen some solos in TOA too. And Alto, some skill players do love to play him, but most of them ignore the first 3 of these 4 stars, which is Yang Yang, Shixia, and Alto. Baizi is a good healer. If you don't have Verena or Shorekeeper, she's your good to go healer. So if you want a good healer, then go for her. But if you already have Verena or Shorekeeper, then you can basically ignore her, but it's good to have more healers, to be honest, if you have skill issues. For example, I do have all 3 of them upgraded in my account, so it will be really beneficial when it comes to skill issue check fights. Okay, so that's all I think for 4 stars. So now we talk about the 5-star standard characters. First of all, let's talk about Rover. Rover is a free character that everyone should have by now, and if you just simply play the game, you will unlock more of his classes, which is Arrow and Havoc. Basically, he is one of the most important character in your roster because he can be used in multiple teams, for example in Cretaceia's Aero team, Zani's Spectrophrasal team, and upcoming characters which we haven't know yet. So if you want to have a good sub DPS character or you want to main him, you can upgrade him, and he is one of the best investment in the game that you could do. And trust me, his damage as a main character in this game is extremely good, and you can just clear a lot of contents just by using the Havoc Robber. In terms of damage, these 3 robbers, the Havoc Robber deals much more damage compared to Arrow and Spectro Rover. So for the next character I'm talking about is Encore. So Encore is basically one of the most useful main DPS for new players or endgame players. Even now I'm using Encore in TOA, and she deals a lot of damage. Her playstyle is simply just spamming her resonance skill and then use your resonance liberation and use your resonance skill again, and that's all. Sometimes you could heavy in between because her heavy cannot be interrupted. It will deal slower damage to you, so don't worry. Even if you get hit, you won't lose a lot of health. But most of the time I don't do the heavy method. I just spam resonance skills, resonance liberation, and resonance skill, and that's the most optimal playstyle that I can suggest to you guys. So if you want a good main carry in early progression or mid game, she will be very useful, even at S0. Next, let's talk about Verena. Verena is one of the most important character for any account because she can be selected from the free selector, which was for all the players. Now there's a new event which has replaced that, and basically it's the same thing. You still can choose which resonator you want to pull for, and I would strongly suggest pull for Verena. She's one of the greatest support in this game after Shorekeeper, but Verena can give you heals and also she will give you death immunity. Other than that, she also can provide you with attack bonus when you intro into your character from her. So that's why it's important to pull for Verena in order to get extra attack and healing if you have skill problems. But if you don't have any skill problem, you can just use dungeon to clear any content, to be honest. Next is Jiangxin. Jiangxin is a very niche character in my opinion because not many people use her as a character, but she do have some useful abilities. For example, if you look at a resonance liberation, if you use her outro skill, the incoming resonator has their resonance liberation damage amplified by 38% for 14 seconds. So this is extremely useful for characters that use resonance liberation. For example, Xiang Liao. Xiang Liao's main damage come from resonance liberation. So she can really boost characters like that. But the problem with her is that her damage is quite low, so it's not a very optimum team if you ask me. But she do have some useful abilities such as she provide you with shield and she have a very small amount of healing. If you look at a Fortesa kit, you can see that she do have a shield and she also have a healing ability. So she have that abilities, but for me, I don't think so. She is a great character to invest due to her very low damage. Next, we talk about Ling Yang. Ling Yang, some people main him, but I think if you want to really main him, you should invest in S3 or above because his early sequences do not do that much of a damage increase. But starting from his S3, you get an extra 10% resonance skill damage and basic attack damage, and S6, he gain a lot of extra abilities too. So if you lost a lot of 50-50, then I'm sure over time you can S6 him, but his abilities are very simple and it's not really that great. For example, if you look his outro, most characters they boost the entire team. For example, they give extra resonance liberation bonus or resonance skill bonus. But if you look at his skill, it doesn't do anything. It just gives you glacial damage bonus to himself. So that's why in terms of team priority, he lacks a bit. And as a solo DPS also, he's not that great in my opinion. The same goes for Calcharo. If you look at Calcharo's outro, he also do not give any benefit for the team. It only benefit for himself. But the only problem with Calcharo is, of course, his damage is good, but the playstyle of focusing mainly on the heavy is the one that make players really hate him, to be honest, because the time to do that skill is very fast, so you have to be extremely skillful to do that. But some players like to use him, it's up to the player's preference. But if you ask me, I will say Enko is the easiest to be your main DPS if you don't want to pull for Verena as your main character. So we already talked about all the basic characters. Now let's talk about the limited characters. So we are back here with limited characters. So let's talk about the limited characters. 1.0's release, it is Jian and Yinlin. Between these two characters, of course, their damage now is not comparable to all the new coming resonators, but they do have some uses. For example, Jian, he still perform well in Whimpering Wave due to his ability, which is grouping when he's using Resonance Liberation. He can group the mobs together and he will deal a lot of damage to them. And one more thing to know is that he have an auto parry system where he can parry some of the bosses when he is using the Resonance Liberation. So the next character will be Yinlin. For me, I already made a tier list yesterday, and even there I mentioned that I don't really like her playstyle because it feel a bit clunky, and in my opinion the damage is not that great. But there's one thing about her that is good, is that her outro skill give electro damage amplified 20% and resonance liberation bonus, which is extremely useful for Xiang Liao. That's the only good thing if you want to pull for her. So our 1.1 characters are Jinxi and Changli. So are these two characters worth pulling now? In my opinion, you can pull for Jinxi even now because her damage is crazy. So for her playstyle, it's very simple. You just have to build a forte bar. Max is 50, and then you use your resonance skill and your resonance liberation. That's all. But the only problem is when you want to generate her forte bar, it takes a little bit of time if you don't have coordinated attacker in your team. For example, coordinated attackers like Jersey will give a very fast build of a forte compared to Yuanwu and Mortefi. So what about Changli? Changli's playstyle is very easy. So you just have to fulfill your forte bar and then you just hold your basic attack and you do the grouping heavy attack thing, which like a flame, and then you use your resonance vibration and you do that again so twice. That's how you play her. But in my opinion, if you want to build a monofusion team, she is one of the core member for now. The monofusion team consists of Changli, Brandt, and Lupa. So if you're really planning on building a monofusion team, then yes, go for Changli. In my opinion, I think she's a skippable unit. So for now, let's talk about the skippable units, which is Yinlin, Changli, and the characters that you should pull is Jian and Jinxi. Next, let's talk about Zezi and Xiang Liao. For Zezi and Jiang Liao, I think between them, both of them have their own uses. For example, if you have Jinxie, and ZZ will be very very useful because her ability is, if you look at her outro, she boosts resonance skill, which is extremely beneficial for Jinxie. But not only that, ZZ also boosts glacier damage, and if you have Carlota, she will also benefit from Zizi. So that means Zizi have benefit for two DPS characters, which is Jinxie and Carlota. So that's why I say she's one of the most important sub DPS in this game. For Xiang Liao, he's the main DPS, and for example, if you have Lin, his damage will become slightly better compared to using him with other teams. But the good thing about Zhang Liao is if you are older player, most of you guys have him already. But if you're a new player, I'm sorry to say, you have to pull for his banner. But if you don't want, you can skip for newer characters that are coming in 2.6, which is Augusta. Augusta is a better upgrade for Zhang Liao in my opinion. So if you're a newer player, then you can skip him and go for Augusta. Next, Shorekeeper. Shorekeeper is one of the most important character by far in this game when you compare to any of the other characters. The only reason is she's a greatest healer in this game. She's the only limited healer, and she is the only limited crit damage and crit rate buffer in this game. That's the main reason. If any new players, there's a banner you want to pull for, that is Shorekeeper's banner. So make sure when you are starting this game, you pull for her. A playstyle is very easy. If your characters have low HP, then you use resonance skill. This is your resonance skill and it will heal your characters. Next, if you are interested in making your character doing more damage, then use a resonance liberation. Then after that, you outro into one character, and from that character, you outro into another character. In total of two outros, and you will have a crit rate and crit damage bonus up. So that's the playstyle for Shorekeeper. And one more thing, she also prevent death. So that means if any of your characters are dying, she will protect you from dying. See? She will save you, to be honest. So that's one of the reasons. She's the only limited healer in this game and buffer. And the upcoming buffer will be Luno. So I want to tell you guys, if you want to skip for Shorekeeper, make sure you have full save for Luno. Because Luno has already been rumored to be a healer, whereas Augusta is the DPS character. So let's wait for 2.6 official release to know how their kit really look like. So next character is Camellia. So Camellia is a very simple character where you just spam a resonance skill. After that, you use your resonance liberation and you just do the spin attack. That's all very high good damage dealing for WuWa and TOA, and also recommended to pull for her if you want to clear both TOA and WuWa. For Carlota, she is an extremely great glacial character because her damage is so powerful. So if you look at her abilities, she can freeze the opponent when she's using some of her abilities, and then when she frees it, you can do immobilization to them. Immobilization means you can't let the characters from moving, so it's easier to kill them. And one more thing to note is that she have a very good resonance chain. If you look here, the S2 liberation bonus is 126% more, and as it goes more and more, the damage increases. So she is one of the characters that if you want to use your extra pulls to get the copies, you go for Carlota. She's a very future-proof character, but she do have one problem, which is Whimpering Wave. In Whimpering Wave, there are a lot of mobs, so she do struggles with them. But if you want to tackle any hologram bosses or TOA bosses, she's the good to go for champ. For Roshia's case, she is quite good in my opinion, but her playstyle is a bit clunky, just like Yinlin. It's not that she's a bad character, but if you do like her playstyle, then go for her. There are a lot of guides in YouTube you can watch for on how to play her. But one ability of her is that she increase havoc damage basic attack by 20%. So that's one of the reasons if you want to pull for her teammates, which is Proloba and Cantarella. So next, let's talk about Cantarella first. So Cantarella's ability is also when you outthrow into her, she give havoc damage and resonance skill damage. So together you pair them up with Proloba, the latest character. All of them will be doing a lot of damage because she also give havoc damage, and heavy attack. So as you can see the pattern, heavy attack is for Roshia, resonance is for Contraa, and Contrala's ability is for Prolova. It's just like a repeat of the cycle between these three characters. You just cycle their outro among them. But the good thing about Prolova is she's a sub DPS character. So next, I've gone a bit far, but don't worry, we will cover everyone one by one. So Roshia is, if you want to pull for Prolova, then you can go for Roshia, but she is not a must for Prolova's team. The only one that is must for Prolova's team is Contraa, and I will explain the reason after this. So for Phoebe, Phoebe is one of the most dual DPS character where she either work as a support or she work as a DPS. Her ability is that if she is alone without Zani, she will do tons of damage. But if you pair her up with Zani, she only act as a support. So she have two roles. You can either use her as main DPS or you can use her pair up with Zani, which makes Zani extremely powerful when you're playing with Phoebe, because she gives spectrophrasals, and these spectrophrasals make Zani become stronger. And next, let's talk about Brandt. Brandt is a character that is strongly required for using together with Lupa because he's one of the main DPS too. But one more thing that you have to note about him is that his resonance skill give you shields, and you also can give an outro bonus of fusion damage and resonance skill damage. So together, pairing them up together with Lupa, Changli. So if you have enough astrites, then go for the teammates. But other than that, he also have one single problem, which is the signature weapon do give him a lot of energy regen, and he need about 270% of energy regen to do a lot of damage. So when you are using him, make sure you take this into consideration, and if you like him and you go pull for him, there's nothing wrong. And his outro skill also benefit the fusion team because he boosts fusion damage and resonance skill by 25%. So next character is Contraa. Contraa also is the same character as Brandt, where you need some of her teammates to work really well, which is Prolova, because her outro gives resonance havoc damage bonus and also resonance skill damage bonus. You have to know that she also can heal you simply by holding your heavy attack. And you have to remember that when in Mirage state, she will be healing you too. So that's one of her ability where she heals your characters. If you look here, healing by consuming trance. So trance, she can have 5 trance, and once you build the trance, she will able to use it to heal your characters. So she's a good healer and also damage dealer. But if you want to use her to a maximum potential, then you have to need to pull for Prolova. These two works really well together. So that's why I recommend if you want to pull for Contraa, then make sure you have enough pulls for Prolova too. But some of the tips I can give for you is that she also works really well with our main character, which is Havoc Robber. So if you don't have enough pulls for Prolova, you can skip now and then pull her during a rerun. Next character I want to talk about is Zani. So Zani is the anniversary character. So in most gacha games, anniversary characters are mostly broken. And Zani also a broken character. But there's one issue. Spectrophrasal. Spectrophrasal is a new negative effect that was recently released by Kuro Games. But the problem with Spectrophrasal is that only a few of them applies now and no 4 stars apply for Spectrophrasals. So that's why she become a huge problem for many FTP players that skip Phoebe. Because Phoebe can give you Spectrophrasal and also she amplifies Spectrophrasal damage bonus to Zani. And her weapon also very crucial in doing a lot of damage when it supports Zani. So that's why Zani, even though it's a very strong character, she feel a bit restrictive. And one more of her ability, which is S6, give you immortality for 8 seconds. That means you won't die for 8 seconds. So Chakona is a very important character if you want to pull for Cretaceia or Zani. The reason is because previously in my tier list, I put her in A tier, but after serious consideration, I think I might be moving her to S tier due to one reason, because she can give both Spectrophrasal and Arrow Erosion. While I was making the tier list, I did not remember that she can also proc Spectrophrasal, so that's why I put her in A tier list. But if you have watched that video, then I would like to tell you guys she's a S tier character because this ability is extremely good because it supports 2 DPS characters at once. That means she can either support Cretaceia or Zani, and these two DPS characters are one of the most top tier DPS characters in current game mode in TOA or Whimpering Waves. So that's why I say if you want to pull her, then you have to pull for Cretaceia, because these two pairs together well. As you can see the pattern here, nowadays characters are released in pairs or in a team. So moving on forward, more characters will be in team compositions. More characters will be forming teams in Wuthering Wave. So make sure you have always get up to date with which characters are coming in the future banners. And for finally, let's talk about Lupa and Prolova. So Lupa was released in previous batch, and her ability is that she can really do great damage as a main DPS or sub DPS, but more of her role is like a sub DPS character. And one more thing you need to note is that she needs 3 resonators to be in a team to be really useful. And then her outro skill also really useful for the fusion team because it gives fusion damage amplified by 20% and basic attack damage amplified by 25% for 14 seconds. So she's one of the greatest characters that has been released for the mono fusion team. So if you like, then you can use her, because if you see her, you need to have 3 fusion resonators to get extra bonuses. But that's up to you guys. If you want to pull for more resonators and you want to build a team, for example, mono fusion team, mono arrow team, mono spectral team, then she will be one of the greatest characters to be put into the mono fusion team. And for final characters, let's talk about Cretaceia. So for Cretaceia, I think she's a must pull for any account. The reason is because she is not as restrictive as Zani. Zani's case is different from Cretaceia is because even though Cretaceia also have negative effects, which is arrow erosion, but her ability to proc the arrow erosion is different from Zani. Zani do not have the ability to proc Spectral Frazzle all by herself unless you have some of her copies. But for Cretaceia, you can proc the arrow erosion all by herself. The only thing that you need to have together with her is arrow rover, which give 3 more extra erosion stacks. And with Chakona, you can get the arrow erosion bonus from the outro skill, which amplifies the bonus damage. So that's why I say if you are planning to build an arrow fusion team, then you have Cretaceia, Chakona, or arrow rover. If you're planning to build a Havoc team, you have Prolova, Contraa, Roshia. If you're planning on pulling for Mono Fusion team, you have Lupa, Changli, and Brandt. And if you want to pull for Spectral Frazzle team, you either have Zani Phoebe or Zani Robo. So I've completed all the list of characters that I want to talk about for today. And I already explained some of their abilities because this is not ability breakdown video, but more of a which character to pull for based on what their abilities do. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. And if you have any question regarding which characters to pull for, I will suggest you guys put your comment in the comment section below and I will reply to you guys. So thanks for watching this video, and I hope this video will be very helpful for you guys in future or in current planning of your pulling for characters in this game. Thanks for watching my video. Peace out.